Hello and welcome back. Well, if you're in a categories league and you're like me, you're at the bottom of the standings and you really don't know why, what's going on, you thought you drafted a good team and you're down here, I'm in 11th here in the data draft categories league, and you're trying to figure out why and what you can do to help yourself get back up into playoff contention. This is a little trick that I've been using for a couple years now, and I'm going to show it to you guys so you can do this for your own teams. And this is going to potentially help you identify areas where you need to improve. Some of this should be stuff that you keep track of on a regular basis just mentally as you work through your weeks, but sometimes it gets a little lost in terms of I've got 5 different teams. It's hard to keep track of all of that. So with that said, I'm going to show you this little trick. So what you do, if you're in a Yahoo league, this is where most of this is going to be found. I haven't used ESPN or any other league type, so this is mainly for Yahoo leagues, but you go to this league tab here at the top, you go down to team stats. This is going to get you both forward defense stats and goaltending stats for your entire league. This is the record for each of the matchups over the course of the season. And what you want to do is click the totals. This is going to give you the raw numbers, all of the metrics that you play with. Here we have goals, assists, points, PIMs, power play points, shorthanded, game winners, shots, hits, blocks. And then what you're going to do is you're going to select this entire table, and then you're going to copy all of this. Now you take this and you open up a blank Excel sheet, which I'll pull over here. And you're basically just going to paste it in here just with this match destinating format on. And that's going to plop it right in here and make it a regular Excel file, Excel sheet. And then what you want to do is you want to insert a column in between each of these metrics. And I'll show you why in just a second. But you just pull these over, insert these in here. And this is where we're going to do a little bit of analysis to help us figure out what areas we need to improve upon and kind of get a score for each individual team within the league to see how you stack up against other players. If you're savvy with Excel, you can then take this and potentially improve upon this and have a matchup calculator to see how you're going to stack up against your opponent. So now what I've done is I've added the labels to all of these, and what I did is just take the metric and add percentile as the label. So then what we're going to do is we're going to calculate the percentiles for each of these metrics, which I'll go ahead and do for you, but let me just show you the formula. So what you're going to do is equals percent rank dot exc, and then you start the parentheses and you select the row that you want to look at. So we're looking at B, so we'll do this column, I should say, and then we're going to look at B2, and that's going to give us this value. So this is 93rd percentile in terms of the league in goals, and that's Age of Empires, really good team. They're at the top of the standings. So I'm going to go ahead and do this for each of these metrics. And now that that is completed, what we're going to do here is, this is just something that I like to do, is just select all of these columns, and we'll get a sense visually of what we're looking at here, because sometimes it's harder to interpret some of this stuff when you're just looking at a blank Excel sheet like this. So we'll go to conditional formatting and then color scales, and then this first option. This is basically like a heat chart or a heat map showing you how well everybody is performing in each metric. So here is, we'll find my team. Here's my team, and reasonable in goals, pretty good in assists, not that bad in points. Here's the first issue that we have, really, really low, 6th percentile in PIMs, and that is going to be a huge problem. Then we look at power play points, pretty good. So I've got some good offensive guys, a couple of shorthanded points, not the worst in terms of shorthanded points. Game winners are actually pretty good, 66th percentile there. And then we've got really another problem here with shots at 26th percentile. And then hits are decent. And then here's the other kicker, blocks. So it's very clear looking at this. If you just look at the entire row here, blocks are really in need of attention. Maybe some more shot volume. Obviously, that's a little bit low, but then obviously PIMs. So I need to go out and get somebody who factors in terms of PIMs and in terms of blocks. So what I did, try to address these issues. You only get 4 ads a week, and I had to kind of use 3 of them already on a Monday, which is tough. But I dropped Pius Suter, who I was filling in for JT Miller while he was out. Pick up Mark Kastelic, who's got 65 penalty minutes so far. He's a fighter. He usually gets them at 10 to 15 PIM bunches in maybe one game every 4 or 5 games. So hopefully he can start to help me chip away in PIMs. I added Chris Tanev specifically for blocks. If we look here, he is capable of 4 or 5 5, 8 blocks per game. 4, you're looking at a lot of up and down numbers there, but still should be better than Braden Schneider in that category. And then I added Pierre-Luc Dubois for a little bit better performance offensively. Malkin has kind of tapered off a bit. But with that said, this is the way that I've used this in the past. It has worked in the past. It's not necessarily working this year. I'm not doing great, which is why I'm 11th in this league. But another thing that you can do in terms of trying to improve your team, once you've got all of this, it's pretty easy to get a metric for each team. So I just add a column called rating. I do equals average, and then start the parentheses, and then just select all of the percentile columns. And you add commas in between to separate these, and you just start selecting each of these percentile columns that we've created. And that is the last one. So we'll close the parentheses, and then I do times 100 to normalize it. And this is a score for each team in the league. And then you can kind of sort and filter by that and see who the best teams are. Now, this should be a mirror image of the standings. So you've got Tage of Empires at number 1. Shinpad Assassins, who's at 5, is actually in number 2 spot in the league. Hughes Your Daddy is supposed to be up there as well. Eichel Myers is right there as well. Drink More Cider, a little bit over performance there. French Fries, etc. But this is at least giving you a sense of some of the better teams out there, and you're getting a mirror image of that here, but you're getting a little bit more detail. So some of those outliers that we mentioned, Cider and the other one, probably have really excellent goaltending. And we could do the exact same process for the goaltending and bring those metrics in and get a complete look at the entire team. Now, the other thing that you can do is kind of add these together and figure out how your team matches up against your opponent. So that's what I'll do. I'll just pause this for a second and get the goaltending metrics in here. So just to fill you in, what I did is I went back exactly to where we were with the goaltending, copied all of this over into a separate sheet, and then copied just this stuff over, brought it in here, added the percentiles, and calculated the goaltending rating. So now what we can do is we'll select everything here, and we will go to Insert, Pivot Chart, and open that up on a new tab over here. So then you've got your team name. You're going to drop into filters, and then you're going to want to select each of these percentile metrics and add them to the chart. So we'll just do this really sloppily, but whatever, and we'll just get through it because there's a lot of categories in this league, which is probably why I'm not doing well. And this will give us a kind of visual look at how our team is performing in each of these metrics. I like to go in and turn on data labels. That gives you these values here. And then we will filter by my team name, which is Mitch Connor. And we'll go look at what we've got here. So the only thing I don't like about these pivots, and I could spend more time on doing that, but just right off the quick, easy method that we've just done, the labels are on the side. They're not underneath, which makes it a little harder to read. But with that said, here are those PIMs that I'm really low on, and here are the blocks that I'm really low on. So obviously, this is going to be an issue that I want to fix. And then obviously here, you can visualize this. The shots are pretty low, and then shorthanded points are a little bit harder to find on the waiver wire, but those are also low. So maybe we'll think about addressing them in a trade. But with that said, this is what my team looks like. And then you can kind of compare against who you're playing. And in this particular week, if we go and take a look at the matchup, I've got Eichel Myers, who is one of the stronger teams in the league. So what we'll do is we'll come up here and filter to Eichel Myers and see how their team stacks up. So they are going to destroy me in blocks. I might have a chance with PIMS if I, got Kastelik in there, and hopefully he can get a fight this week. I might be able to take him there, which is promising. This is not. So his shorthanded points is way better than mine. The offensive metrics in general are pretty similar. He is stronger in a bunch of them, but they're not insurmountable. But here, this is promising that I could potentially match him on PIMS, and this would be a case where if you see this at the beginning of the week, this is how you can kind of plan out your ads. Like, okay, I'm going to attack PIMS. I'm going to attack, what is this over here, this green, game winners, which is harder to find on the waiver wire, but some of these metrics are going to be easier to find, like blocks or hits. So in this particular case, the game-winning goals, that might be harder to find. Shots should be easier to find. Power play points, things like that. But this gives you a sense of where you can attack your opponent each week and where they might be weakest and where you can potentially find an advantage. Now, it also helps you identify weaknesses with your own team, and then it becomes incumbent upon you to use Yahoo, or what I like to use is the Player Hub, to try to find players that fit the needs that I have. So that's what I did. I went to the Player Hub earlier and filtered for, I don't have Pims on there, but I do have blocks, and found Chris Tanev. So that's one way that you can hopefully help your team and identify areas that can potentially strengthen your team if you're struggling. Hopefully this was a little bit informative and helped you out a little bit. If it did, leave me a comment in the comment section below. If not, you can just skip this one. We'll be back to the regular content in the next video.